Welcome to My Conversation, a presentation of KAIL-TV My Central Valley. So let's get My Conversation started.
Good morning once again, and welcome to My Central Valley. It is My Conversation, and I'm Jason Hurst filling in for Austin Webb once again. They let me back. I know. I can't believe it either. It's pretty cool. And today we got some very special guests on the show. Rick Horowitz from the Law Office of Rick Horowitz. Also Marshall D. Mishigian and Shant Yemenjian of the Armenian School. We'll be talking to them very soon. But first of all, we just want to welcome Rick Horowitz. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh,
thanks for having me.
It's kind of intimidating. Got a couple of lawyers in the studio today, so I feel kind of underdressed a little bit.
Well, on the plus side, if you need any help, there's plenty of it around.
I guess so. There's a lot of help here. And that's exactly
I don't know if you were
do.
planning on getting into trouble today or not.
No, but you come to the side of the person that is actually being accused, correct?
That's right. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I defend adults and juveniles in criminal issues.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow, I know. So today you came in, you have a lot of interesting cases going on right now you can talk about, or can you talk about?
Well, I don't like to talk about live cases, but
Okay.
I sometimes do talk about old cases.
Right.
But right now, the only thing I can say is that I'm all over the valley. I've got cases in Merced. I've got a case that's getting ready to go to trial in Porterville. I've got cases in Visalia and Hanford and obviously Fresno, which is my home office is here in Fresno.
So you're a busy man covering all of Central California.
All over the place. Sometimes two different cities in one day. I was talking with someone earlier and explaining that a couple of weeks ago I had a case that was scheduled in Porterville for the morning, and it was supposed to be scheduled in Merced, a different case, for the afternoon. So
Wow.
I was shuttling between the two.
And you made it.
Almost.
Yeah.
I almost made it. Somebody did step in for me and give a handout in the Merced case, because at the last minute they apparently moved the time up on the hearing.
Oh, that's good. You know, I could tell you're a real easy person to talk to. You came in kind of joking around a little bit. And I commented on the fact that you got a very cool cane that you walked in with today. What is that all about?
Well, I broke my foot recently, and a friend of mine, another criminal defense attorney by the name of Eric Schweitzer, made this cane. He used to be a furrier, a person who shoes horses. And so this portion right here is actually an old rasp that he took and heated it up in his forge.
Very cool.
Beat it down, shaped it. This piece was just a long straight piece of metal that he shaped. I held the end of it while he took a chisel and hammer to it. I think this is a horseshoe nail for the tongue. And then he fashioned it all into this dragon. And my brother is a jeweler. He has David Horowitz Jewelry in Porterville. He put the garnets in for the eyes.
Nice. It looks very cool. And now it's temporary, I know. Do you
It's
mind-
temporary.
How did you accidentally hurt yourself? What happened?
Oh, well, that's an interesting story. See, as I mentioned, I'm a criminal defense attorney,
Right.
and I was in plea negotiations with a DA, and I had trouble getting my foot back.
That's awesome.
Now, that's not the real story, but that's the one I'm sticking with.
If I ever get in trouble, yeah, I want you to represent me for sure. Which hopefully that won't happen.
Hopefully not.
But you never know. The day is still young. Also, I thought it was really cool. We were talking about some stories when you first came in about someone online. They sent like a video out, like a GIF is what they call it, right?
It was a GIF or a GIF, however you want to pronounce that. There was a gentleman who, well, I don't know if you want to call him a gentleman. There was a person who sent a tweet to a journalist who was known to have epilepsy.
Oh.
And the image that he sent in the tweet had a stroboscopic effect to it.
Wow.
And the idea behind it was that he wanted to induce an epileptic seizure in this journalist, because he was upset with the journalist about different things that he reported. I think it had something to do with the right-left issue. But the bottom line on it is that he's been charged with, I believe it's assault with a deadly weapon. And one of the questions that came up, I actually blogged about this. I have a blog at rhdefense.com. And a friend of mine, a New York attorney, had blogged about it first. And he said, well, what's the weapon here?
Right.
You know, because is a GIF or a GIF, is it a thing?
It's basically like a flashing object that somebody gets tweeted to him, right?
And he had suggested that, you know, well, this is not a real thing, so how can that be a weapon if it's not a real thing? And I came back in my response to that, when I wrote my blog article, I said, well, let's wait a minute here. You know, I don't think anybody would deny that if the guy had walked up to the journalist with a stroboscopic light, stuck it in his face and pulled the trigger on it so that it strobed at him, that would be a deadly weapon. They would say the strobe is a deadly weapon. I said, well, it's the same kind of thing here. It's just that the wires are a little bit longer and they run through the internet.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I got to thinking, because I work for Soft Rock 98.9, host the morning show with Terry Ann, and we thought about saying, okay, Google, and set like all these like machines off at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, play a siren. That probably wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah, here, let me give you my card.
Yeah, it might cause a few accidents. I appreciate that. Speaking of which, how can we get a hold of you if we really need you?
Well, my office, as I said, is in downtown Fresno. People should call for an appointment first. The number is 559-233-8886. And you can also text to that number, actually, even though it's a landline. I pay for a service so that I can send and receive texts through that number. So that's 559-233-8886. Call or text.
Is there a big law office website or something people go to?
I do have my website that I mentioned earlier. It's at rhdefense.com. That's R for Rick, H for Horowitz, defense.com.
All right.
So,
well, good. Glad we have your number.
Thank you.
Hope I don't have to use it. Rick Horowitz, Law Office of Rick Horowitz. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Hey, my pleasure. And we'll be back right after this for more of My Conversation.
This episode of My Conversation is sponsored by the Law Office of Rick Horowitz. Need someone to defend your rights? Call Rick Horowitz today.